Ho, ho, hello, and welcome to Page Turners Podcast, a festive series. Christmas is coming, and we're bringing you the big gift of Crimbo content as we discuss a few seasonal reads and everyone's favourite guilty pleasure, cringy Christmas cinema. Join us throughout the month as we count down to the big day together. Welcome to your new favourite book club. Amy, how are you?
Hello, I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We saw Wicked at the weekend.
How was it? Do tell.
I really enjoyed it, yeah.
Good, that's good. I know last week when we were chatting about it, I don't even think it was on the podcast. I had said I had heard a few people saying it was really good, but I've since heard mixed reviews, so it's really reassuring to hear that you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the show, like the West End show, and I've seen it about three times. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. It was great. No, I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The thing is, we went to like a screening where you could like where you got. I mean, I don't know if I brought it in. I didn't bring it with me. You got like a special Lego thing to come to the
Ah,
screening. We got like Elphaba's bottle in the Lego and Glinda's flower, and you put them together and everything. But that unfortunately meant it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so that meant it attracted lots of children. Um, and
okay.
I got to become my father, who once shouted at children in the cinema during a film that we were watching because they were spoiling the film as they were going and talking. And my dad leaned forward and was like, "Be quiet." And they were terrified and scampered out the thing. So I got to do it just before Defying Gravity, all the way through the short. So they'd been on their phones, they'd been Snapchatting, they'd been recording the light from their phones,
No,
they'd been shouting. Some of them had walked out, and I was
I
just like,
heard about that. I mean, I wouldn't have assumed it would be a universal experience, but clearly it was. I heard that about that from lots of people online, that there were quite a few people who basically ruined the experience by having really terrible cinema etiquette, like
yeah,
on their phone, getting up, leaving, coming back in, singing,
yeah.
crying really loud. Which, if you're going to cry and get a bit emotional and tearful about it, that's totally fair enough. But outwardly sobbing, like just too much.
I cried everything, and I didn't actually cry. I got quite emotional at like the bits with the animals and things because I thought that was beautifully done. But yeah, no, during Defying Gravity, I think because it's broken up like to be dramatic throughout the film, um, she started, she did like a couple of lines, and then one of the kids was like, "Ugh," and like did it themselves, and I just leaned forward and I went, "Shut up!" I was just, oh, I'd lost me shit. Oh,
You'd got
and
to that point. So what did they do? What was their response? Or did they say anything?
they were as
No.
quiet as church mice after then. So yeah, I think it was mad as well because like there were two rows in front of me. There was nobody in the row in front of me, so like I didn't shout over anyone. But there was a parent and a couple of parents with kids just right behind them, so on some like a bit to the left. And I was like, why didn't you say anything?
Do you know
And
though, I
again,
think nowadays like people are just really anxious about saying anything to teenagers because in the past when we were teenagers, it was like, oh no, people have said something. But I think there is certainly a certain group, not all, but there are a certain group of teens that nowadays is like almost like they're looking for that reaction from
mm,
people.
very true, very true. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's not so good. But hopefully it didn't spoil all of the film.
no, if anything, I got a little adrenaline high after
Nice.
telling them off. And then when they scampered out of the screening, they turned around and I was putting my coat on and I just turned around and I just give them like this death stare. And then
Oh,
just then I go to the
they were
toilet.
off.
I imagined them beating me up in the toilets afterwards, but they didn't. So
Were they in the toilet at the same time as you?
no, no. But I think
No.
that's maybe they were biding their time. I don't know. Who knows?
Mm,
Maybe they could see how good of a fighter I am that I know karate or
maybe.
something. Yeah,
Maybe.
that's why.
Oh no, good. I'm glad.
Um, but what are you doing this week? Anything fun?
This week we plan to put the Christmas tree up on Sunday because that is the 1st of December, and we try our best to do it on the first Sunday of December every year. It usually ends up being like later on, but it falls perfectly this time, so that's good. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I like decorating for Christmas. It's very festive. And we had a snow day on Saturday here. We had some really nice snowy weather for one
We
day.
did. Yeah, it was sort of perfect in a way. Like it
Mm.
snowed, it covered everything, and then the rain came, sort of turned it to slush before it could become ice and brutal underneath, and then it was gone.
And it was so much, and after it was weird because after it, I was talking to someone at work today and it was about 10 or 11 degrees at night, at about midnight. So you didn't, as you say, there was zero frost, zero ice. You just got the good bits of the snow and then none of the rubbish bits the next day. And now there's
Yeah,
no snow. It's all gone.
yeah, yeah. Weird, right? Global warming. Probably nothing to be celebrated, but Amy, I have a question for you that'll
Mm.
tell everyone whether what you want in Christmas, real tree or fake tree.
Fake tree.
That's okay. That's
Sorry.
okay. No,
Um,
you don't
I
apologize. You don't have to
I
apologize to people.
I like the aesthetic of a real tree, but we invested in quite an expensive fake tree, so I've just sort of got cost per use out of it, and we're still using it. But I haven't got a pre-lit one, so I haven't went quite that far. I still do the
Oh,
majority of the Christmas tree decorating. It's just I don't go out and cut it down or pick it or do any of that sort of stuff, which I'm a bit sad about because that seems quite fun. But yeah, we have a real tree. Oh, no, we don't. We have a fake tree.
I love that. You're in both camps there. You're just confusing people. I love it. No, my mum and dad have always had a real tree as long as I have been alive, except from last year when they invested again a lot of money in a one from like Balsam Hill or something.
Yeah, that's one that
Um,
my in-laws are currently just about to get. They're trying to find the right size, but they're doing the same thing. They're like, this is going to see us out. This is going to see us out.
but
Goodness.
then theirs is pre-lit and it has the lights and everything, and it's
Yeah.
pretty realistic. But yeah, not yet for us, I don't think. Alex and I do
No.
go and cut our tree down, which is a new development over the last few years since we were in Scotland. But I think that's because we had a really shitty fake tree in the flat in London for like 7 years. And it did us well. It was a Tesco one. I think it cost us a fiver and it was proper 6 footer. But I mean,
But you want something at more.
yeah, yeah, we get the
Yeah.
whole experience of chopping it down and choosing it, and they've always got like a little shop on, and that's where I get my mistletoe from, and they charge you through the eyes, but it's for the experience. So,
Oh, lovely. Good.
what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading Red Winter by Annette Marie.
Oh,
Mm.
spooky horror.
No, no, it's fantasy. It's very early days. It's a fantasy. I don't think it's a fantasy romance, and if it is a fantasy romance, then romance is very much a subplot. But it's a fantasy based around Japanese mythology.
Oh,
Mm. I
that
just wanted
sounds.
something really festive, not necessarily Christmassy, but something like that feels like snowy and you
Mm,
know seasonal. Um, and it was highly reviewed, highly recommended. So I thought, yeah, give it a go.
so, oh, love that. All
Mm.
right, I'll put that on my list as well. To be fair,
Okay. Yeah, it's a lovely cover actually, but I'll send you it rather than show you on this because you won't see it. What are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading The 12 Days of Murder by Andrina Cordani.
You mentioned
Uh,
last week. Yeah.
I did, but I edited it from the podcast, so it's
Okay. It's
so it's
new.
brand new for everyone here.
Lovely.
Long
Um,
story short,
how's it going?
yeah, no, my dad basically recommended it to me. It's something he's read, and I was like, actually, that sounds pretty good. Um, as you can tell, it's a murder mystery. I'm only about a couple of chapters in, but yeah, based
Yeah.
around the sort of 12 Days of Christmas type thing. It's yeah, yeah. My dad
Good.
didn't enjoy it. He texted me saying I finished it, and I was like, oh, how was
Oh.
he said poor, and I was like, okay. So there's a part of me that doesn't want to continue, but I feel like maybe I've got to have the discussion
It's
with him
always a bit
about it.
awkward, isn't it? Like if you early days recommend a book to somebody because you've maybe like instantly got quite hooked on it, and then by the time you get to the end, you think, please don't read that. I don't think it's good anymore. Oh,
I
great.
don't.
And you've finished the book for next week.
I have. I have. Yes. Yeah. No. No. I have. Yeah. I'll be interested to chat with you about that.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
Well, before we talk about next week, we should probably talk about this week, right?
Let's do it.
So, since this is episode two of our festive features, it's a film. So instead of asking you what we've read, I have to ask you, Amy, what did we watch this week?
We watched not one, but two festive. I was going to say festive favourites, but I don't think these would be anyone's favourite yet. And one of them, I would be surprised if it ever reached anyone's favourite list. However, we did watch The Merry Gentleman and Hot Frosty.
We're going to start by talking about The Merry Gentleman, and then we'll move on to Hot Frosty, and then we'll sort of talk about them together. But
Hmm.
it's not going to be very long, I think, talking about The Merry Gentleman, unless it's just on it, I suspect. Um, quick premise of The Merry Gentleman is essentially how would you pitch it to a friend if you could be like, it's this times this, or this plus this?
I mean, I think it's trying to be like the Full Monty
Mm,
meets just Christmas. I mean, it's a very stereotypical Hallmark Christmas concept where someone comes back to their hometown for Christmas or before Christmas, and there's some financial struggles, and that person has to do what they can to save a family business. So I feel like you could omit that for lots of things. Christmas tree farm, family restaurant, family hotel. In this case, we have a family bar.
And those places, the Rhythm Room, this is what it's called in The Merry Gentleman, they're always a pillar of the community, no matter
Always.
run down or shit they could be. They're always a pillar of the community.
Always,
Um,
but nobody goes to them
this is
because they
it.
don't make any money.
That's it. If it's such a pillar of the community, why is nobody banded together before to help them out?
Exactly. I know. It's like an outrage that it would possibly close, and yet you don't go, you don't patron it. So what do you expect to happen?
Do I at least find that that's quite realistic though? Because Alex and I do that all the time. Like there was a place in Falkirk called Tea Jenny's. Oh, ripped to Tea Jenny's. Loved it so much.
Mm,
And we went for a little bit and then we just kept not going. Oh, you want to go? No, no. And then it closed and we were outraged. And it's partly our fault because we should have patronized
yeah.
it.
I also loved it too, and then yeah, you're totally right, did not go nearly enough. So R.I.P.
But
T Jenny's.
the Rhythm Room is not our fault. It's that entire town's fault. Speaking of that entire town, the whole way through, we were just like, where the fuck is this town?
I thought the
We,
same thing. So she was coming from New York, right?
yeah.
So was it just a small suburb of New York?
Well, this is it. We said upstate New York, but it didn't look anything like upstate New York.
No, no,
No.
not at all.
Uh,
No idea.
would we maybe like to start with the positives, if there are any?
You can.
Um, the positives that I had was that we get a fantastic extension of the Netflix universe. In when there is to show you how much of a pillar in the community the Rhythm Room is, there's a section where it pans across a bunch of newspaper clippings that are on show there for how the Rhythm Room has changed lives, and we get Vanessa Hudgens from the Princess Switch as well. Actually, is she the princess of one or the queen of the other? I don't know. Whatever one of is, whichever one she is there either opening the Rhythm Room or doing something there. And that is what the extension of the Netflix Christmas universe that I love and want.
I like that too, actually. Yeah, no, I did notice that. I thought that was quite fun. So, and I enjoyed the Princess Switch. So, I mean, that was nice to be reminded about that.
Yeah, exactly. To be reminded about a better film during a lesser one. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, essentially, we open with the Jingle Bells theatre show, Broadway show,
Hmm. Hmm.
which I text you being like, why this is a sellout Broadway show and she's shit? Is she meant to get it wrong? Like, what's going on? I was like, how is this such a famous thing? And you were like, well, it's the Rockettes. And I went, oh, no, I never got that. No,
No.
no.
No, I
Because
mean, I think it was easy to miss. The caliber wasn't very high. I would could only imagine how insulting that would be to say it's the Rockettes. So apologies if anybody from the Rockettes is listening.
if I was a Rocket and I saw that, I would be fuming. Like
Exactly.
they do a bit of a sway,
Mm,
like a hand out, arm out, foot out. That's it. It is
that's it.
the I am not a dancer, and I could do that choreography. I feel like my dad watching Strictly Come Dancing. I could do that. Rubbish. It was rubbish, and it already
It's
set
rubbish.
the film off to a really bad start.
Well, right away, it felt very cheap, didn't it? Like it felt like they were trying to do something that the budget just didn't allow. But rather than kind of thinking of something else, they just went for it.
Yeah, because of course she has to be a dancer because the
She
only
has
thing
to
when
be.
oh, and we after she gets aged out, let's put that hilarious thing out there.
Mm,
She's very past her prime.
hmm
She gets aged out of the show, sent home, and she goes and finds out that her parents' bar, the Rhythm Room, is in financial difficulty, and the only thing she can think about to save it is a male dance review, also known as Cheap Magic Mike,
What were they called again? Were
the
they
Merry
called the
Gentleman.
Merry Gentlemen? Is that what they were
Yep.
called? Right. Mm.
I love that you've watched
Mm.
the film and you and you've read the title and we've talked about it a little bit and you're already like, what are they called? I just don't care.
I don't care about any of them. I think this was one of those films where it could have been saved if the cast had been likable. I don't mean the actors, and I don't mean that. I just mean the characters. If the characters had been likable, this I would have forgiven a lot of the sins of this film, to be honest, because it is a cheesy, good fun romp. No one's taking it too seriously, but it just wasn't good to watch because I just didn't care or like anyone.
The thing is, it was impossible to take in any way, whether it was seriously, whether it was satirical, like it wasn't. I think it thought it was more than it was, but I mean, I think we very much agree that, and because I think you text me while we were watching it, but I mean, it finished after 40 minutes.
It totally finished after 40 minutes. We said the same, well, Alex and I, because you were watching it with Alex, exactly
Yeah.
the same thing. What else is possibly going to happen now? Because everything that was going to happen has now happened.
Yeah, so essentially she starts and she convinces the landlord, who happens to be probably the only the only actress I was like, oh, it's her, other than Aunt Zelda, um, who is Selena Gomez's mum in Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah, I couldn't place her for a while, and then I was like, I'm sure it's like a Disney Channel TV show she's in, and then it came to me. Yeah.
She's gone far. And
Mm.
he essentially comes in and says, some juice bar is going to take over. Won't it be great for your parents to not have to do this anymore? And she's like, oh no, I can raise the money. And then essentially, the show starts on December 6th, all the way through to Christmas Eve, and they have to raise 30 grand. And what I'm confused about is they do the first show, it's a success. They raise about £3,500 or something through tickets, through drinks, whatever. I'm sure they're pricing up their drinks as well because no, I mean, like you said, it's a bar and the capacity is about 25. Like, there's no way
I
cover
know.
cover. I
The
think cover.
stage takes up more room than the actual seating area
Yeah,
for the people to come and actually watch the show. Um,
I
and by
mean,
the first performance, I feel like the entire town or those in the town that are interested have now seen it. So, I mean, I don't know how you're going to make any more money from
this is it.
this.
This is it. They do, from what you can tell, you get one dance with four men. One of them is
Yeah.
Chad Michael Murray. One of them is her sister's boyfriend. One of
hmm
them is, or is it three? Sorry, it's three. It's the barman
The barman, yeah. We're
who
not
was
four yet.
dancing.
Don't jump the gun because that plot point is juicy and it comes
Um,
later.
so yeah, no, they've got the barman and he is dancing like rent is due.
He was
He is.
good. He smashed it.
But I would like to add a little bit of maths in here. I'm sorry, everyone. So it's $30 cover to get in because I think it says it
hmm
on the thing.
Does
25 of them roughly. Let's be generous and say 35 attend because there's not more than that, those people. So that's 1,050. That means they had to have raised 2.5 grand on drinks.
expensive for drinks in the Ribbon Room. Maybe people are just getting absolutely smashed in order to deal with
Um,
it.
yeah, but then you've got to take off what? So who paid for the costumes? Because they're guys, they're wearing costumes. Who paid for the light show? Who paid for the music license? Although they are the rhythm room, so maybe we assume they've already got one. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of overhead costs.
I reckon they went, right, we've got 30 grand for her to raise. We'll do 30 grand divided by 18. That's 1,600 per night. That's how much she's got to earn.
There ain't no way she's doing it. And what's that divided by 30?
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
just
that's
if we take drinks out of the equation entirely, which,
$55.
55 people, if it's
Hmm.
$30 a head. So
Sorry,
55 people
sorry.
a night, no chance. Where are these
I mean,
people
look,
coming from?
they might have been, but they weren't on screen, that's for sure. And you took the words out of my mouth. They do the sixth. They pass the show. You see one dance. It is shit. I cannot put it any other way. You see one dance, they have a celebration because they're
They
10% there
do.
or whatever. Chad Michael Murray gives her a toast for putting this whole show together. And I was like, what, one dance? He gets her a fucking necklace.
A wreath necklace, because that was their meet cute, wasn't it? That he was trying to, I don't even know what was going on. He was trying to decorate something and then she got tangled up in the wreath. I have no idea what that was.
He's known her for about 10 days at most. And at this point, he does like a big toast and everything, and everyone's, oh yeah. I'm like, guys, you've not even completed this. You've done one
No.
night. And like you said, who else is gonna come? Does that mean they do a different routine every single night? Plus, it's also the same three blokes until it's four. We know that. I get that. But bugger me, rubbish.
She spent far too much time crafting as well, because her little I guess it was like a little graph that she like almost like a little bar graph that she made to try and keep track of how much money they were making. It was all very Christmas themed because it was chimneys.
Yeah, they were the bars were chimneys. Each one had a little hand drawn Santa on with his sack
You
with
haven't
how
got
much.
time.
Nah, nah.
You haven't
Well,
got time for that. You need
clearly
to
plus
market this better. You need to get out there and you need to flyer. You don't have time to be making these things.
they did flyer, to be fair to them. You remember there's that famous scene where she's like, male dance review, and her sister goes, male strippers, and everyone's like, like they've never seen a penis before. Um, but that's the thing. You only see topless men. Like
You only see topless men. Mm.
there's no,
There's nothing more.
there's nothing more. And look, I'm not saying that that would be the only draw. But if you're going to tell me male strippers and they only take off their shirts when, to be fair, one of the themes is like a builder theme and he's already wearing a fluorescent vest, so you can basically see his abs and his nipples anyway, and then he takes it off, I'm not paying $30 for that.
No, chat. Not every night. I'm not coming for 15 minutes a night so you can do one routine and then I'm going to go home. What is this marketing strategy? Terrible. Absolutely abysmal. And also the fact that they gyrated and danced to Christmas carols, but I feel like they were like royalty-free Christmas songs. Very
Yeah,
bizarre.
yeah, no, that it was truly atrocious.
Mm.
And I think we should probably talk about like the crux of the film, like the what happens after this one night, and then it's maybe about 40 minutes. I think we still have about 40 minutes left, and Jesus, what horrors await us. Let's just take as given spoilers that unfortunately, well not unfortunately, the rhythm room is saved. They rest
Mhm.
they on average take the same money. And let's put that aside as a plot point because we all know that's an eventuality. But what I haven't considered is they're safe for however long, pay off their bills or pay off whatever.
Mm.
Are they gonna then continue the dance review? Or are they gonna start trying to get more people in? Like, are we not just gonna sit back
Well, that's a good point because we do have a third act breakup in this.
oh,
That's all about the female main character's selfishness and
oh,
her desire to want to go and do something that she has always wanted to do, um, and dance for the jingle bells. She wants to get her role back. And she's offered a really attractive package.
Yeah, so essentially they kick her out because she's too old, because she's haggard.
Mm.
And the new lass surprisingly is unreliable because she's too youthful and flighty. So they
Mm.
offer her job
So
back.
insulting to both, to all ages.
Yeah, no. It's, what did you text me? You said for a film about male strippers, it's the most anti-feminist thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Clap,
Just
clap,
so
clap, clap,
many
clap.
digs. So many digs. Yeah, so she's too flighty, obviously, because she's young. She can't commit to anything, of
Yeah,
course. And then our main character, Ashley, is offered her spot back again for a 3-year contract and a significant pay increase.
a 25% raise.
Right, so there you go. And old Luke, our leading man, is not one bit happy about that because he thinks that Ashley should give up all of her dreams and ambitions to choreograph him and his little gang gyrating to Christmas carols.
Yeah,
This is
so I
it.
mean, in and amongst the AI Christmas songs and the terrible
So bad.
dancing by Chad Michael Murray, um,
So bad.
we then also realize that Luke's a carpenter, and she walks into this barn that he's working in,
That
and
he's
they've
also
been
decorated for Christmas. Like, Luke, get a grip.
he's the only one there.
He's got
And
his little like wreaths up and fairy lights up in his carpenter barn.
he's just obsessed with wreaths. Maybe that's his calling card. Maybe he's a serial
Maybe.
killer, and that's why he gave her the wreath necklace. Anyway, we're
That would be
getting
more
ahead.
interesting, significantly more interesting.
At least then you'd have a bit of depth. But yeah, so he essentially tells her, "Oh, it's what I love to do, etc., etc." And she turns around and goes, "Oh, did you make these?" And they're table legs. And he goes, "Yeah." She's, "Oh, they're so impressive. They're fucking table legs."
I know. And he says something really ridiculous like, "Oh yeah, I just left that pile there to and that so that I could impress someone." It's like, is that really? Is that your intention? Is it? But he's also
And
working on a top secret project.
he is, yeah. So it's sort of boxy and it's underneath a sheet, and you think, oh, I immediately thought, I don't know about you, I thought that's going to be revealed at the end. It's going to be something like for her or for the show or something. No, no, it gets revealed straight away. So the point of it being a top secret thing is null and void. And she goes, oh, let me have a look. Lifts it up. It's a table with some carvings on it.
Yeah, it's a table with some Christmas trees carved on the side.
And look,
Whatever.
whilst I could do the choreography in the Jingle Bells and the Merry Gentlemen, I probably couldn't carve that table. But I don't feel bad saying it's shit because I know Chad Michael Murray couldn't do it either.
And he doesn't look like he could. There's no believability there
No.
at all. Yeah, but he's very upset with Ashley because she is so selfish and she gets in the taxi and she decides she's leaving and she's going back to New York and oh no, what will the merry gentleman do? Who's going to choreograph their awful routines? And he's horrible to her instantly. And he doesn't, you pointed it out a minute ago, he's known her for about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks at this point, I'll give you that. And he is so insulting and it's quite dark, the things that he says to her.
Yeah, and what I think is so you sort of text me because you were about 30 minutes ahead and you were, oh, the twist is just not a twist. And afterwards you were like, and I went, what's the twist? Because it's so not a twist. You're so right. Basically, and you text me back saying it's because he's a city boy. He spent this whole film shitting on her for being a city. Oh, city girl, she's so silly. You don't know what us people do up here in the country. And then it's revealed he's from the city, and because he's decided to settle down in this rural community, means that she has to, despite the fact that she trained her whole life for this. She even says, I dedicated my life to this show at the beginning.
Mhm.
Even her dad is like, you gotta go. Like, you gotta go, kiddo. Like
Yeah.
3 years job security and a
Mhm.
25% raise. Unbelievable.
Then you could actually call it, I mean, if it's as big of a deal as it seems to be in this world, I mean, definitely not in ours. that might open so many doors for you if you decide to no longer dance yourself. You could choreograph shows, etc. But no, no, she doesn't do that because Luke makes her feel bad.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, so she decides she doesn't get to the airport. Oh yeah, and
No,
they've also booked her a first class ticket back to New York,
yeah, but yeah, yeah, true. Another thing, yeah, but she doesn't get there because she's stuck in traffic.
which I feel like you would know if you had done that journey a few times. Like she acts like she's never done that journey before, but it's fine. Yeah, and it's just a fucking shit show. She goes back and they see each other when he's on stage, and then he somehow gets the ability to dance. Oh, we haven't mentioned the drunk crossword guy, the old man joining them with his old
Oh
man.
yeah, is that the one that you thought was going to be Santa?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I knew by that point it wasn't Santa. So when you said text me that, I was like, maybe could be.
But in your head, you're like, Liv's gonna be disappointed.
No, I was like, I better not be. I do not want Santa to be part of this male stripper review. No, thank you.
I don't know. Last
Um,
week we had potential domestic violence Santa. This week we could have had stripper Santa.
could have.
But
We're going to bring you all the different Santas, all the facets of
I thought you were gonna say,
Santa's character.
I thought you said fascists, and I was like, well, technically first Santa, but yeah, yeah,
That
no.
guy.
Basically,
So does he have stage fright? Why? Because I feel like they're trying to create some kind of conflict at the end. So he's doing his routine, he's doing his thing. She's left, she's in the taxi, stuck in traffic somehow. And he then just is like, I can't do this anymore.
yeah,
Why?
I think he's clearly heartbroken after the I don't know. They've I know that we timeline wise. So let's say she comes home just before Christmas. Oh, sorry, no,
Hmm.
just before the 6th. So
Hmm.
let's say at the very least she's come home at the end of November. So this is Christmas Eve, which whatever. And also they've known each other, let's say, at least 25 days, but
Yeah, fair. Hmm.
only kiss after maybe, let's say, half of the performances. So potentially when they're in that cabin barn and she's so impressed with this giant wooden table that she
And they
kisses him.
dance. They dance
Oh,
again. They slow dance to a song on the radio that's definitely not a real song.
so much dancing.
Hmm. No.
and and yeah, so what they've been together, or they've since they've kissed, it's been,
Mm.
oh, let's stick a finger in the air and be generous and say 10 days.
Yeah, and that is being generous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
At what point does he think that he has the right A to dictate and B to just be as heartbroken as he is?
I don't know. Yeah, it's so unlikable, so unlikable. And then she comes back. It's Christmas Eve dance
It,
time, and then
yep.
we get the next day, so we get to find out how they're experiencing Christmas Day, and they're all sat around his hand carved table. So there's that callback you were all waiting for.
Well, that hand carved table is at least twice as long as it was when she put it under the sheet. So
Huge. It's huge. And they're all having dinner at the rhythm room, obviously, because they don't have budget for any more sets at that stage of the game.
no, no one. Well, that's how bad things have gotten, Amy, financially. There's no house.
There's
Like
no house. They all live there.
she has to stay with her sister. So
That's right.
yeah, no, it's a fucking nightmare. That it is. You know what I'm saying? It is the worst Christmas film I have ever seen.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen too many of the real cheesy Hallmark ones, and there's a couple that have just been added to Netflix this weekend that you need to have a look at. But in terms of the Christmas films that I have seen, including the Hallmark ones, it is definitely the worst one I've ever watched.
I have watched quite a few of the Netflix Hallmark whatever ones, specifically the one that used to have the mark for worst Christmas film I've ever seen, which was something like An Artist for Christmas or Art for
Yeah.
Christmas, and she runs a cafe or whatever, but she actually wants to be a drawer, and yeah, that was dog shit.
Hmm. This
This
was
is
so long. for what was actually, if someone sort of pitched this idea to you and you knew you had to make it into a film, you would be a bit, surely you would think, you need to give me something else. I can't drag this out to an hour and a half.
Yeah. That, or I never understood why the dance review was multiple nights, multiple dances. Why wouldn't you make it a bigger event, have it on maybe 2 or 3 nights,
Hmm.
and then charge more, but go to the local papers, go to the local press? You could see that build up, that be the climax, and that she has to go back before the fruits of her labor can be seen. That would be where I thought that was going to go. More
I think
classic.
that would have made sense. Yeah, and you could have had a bit of fun. I mean, we saw sprinklings of them like practicing and rehearsals and but that would have been even more fun if we got to see like auditions, like something a little bit something else, something more, not just as these three guys and then one other guy turns up.
Yeah. The biggest thing, I think the most insulting thing is how anti-woman it is. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we speak we speak a lot about, we've spoken before about she gets aged out, the new lass gets in. Like you said, it's insulting to both of them in terms of stereotypes in their character. But I mean, can we talk about the fact that even on Christmas Day she gets a salad?
Yeah, true. That's a real good spot. I didn't notice that now that you've said it.
All the way through, her sister owns the diner, and her sister's like, oh, maybe a cheeseburger with extra bacon. That sounds fucking divine. She goes, no, no, I'll have a salad.
Mm,
Then there's nothing wrong with eating a salad, but there's also nothing wrong with eating a cheeseburger.
mm. And
So
I guess the message there is that she's looking after her. She's like, I'm watching what I'm eating because she's in this dance troupe and she
but
would be scrutinized. Is that the thought process?
yeah, but she's not anymore. They've let her go. And but the
Mm,
the problem I have is that they pit her sister against her to be like, you should have a cheeseburger. And it's like, no, no, you think you've gotten away with it because you've got a woman saying it. If it was a man, obviously it would be much, well, not much worse, but it would probably be picked up more on. But if anything, maybe just leave off the commentary of food and women altogether.
well, it's totally irrelevant. There's no reason to discuss it. It's a bloody
That
bar at the end of the day.
we
Why are
get
we
no
mentioning this?
we get no extra character insight, no extra character
No.
depth. We see him put a salad down in front of her for Christmas. Like,
Mm,
it's it's it adds nothing to her. It adds nothing to a character that provides nothing.
no, you're totally right. The other thing I would want to quickly point out before we move on, because I know we have kind of ripped this apart, but the last thing, and it is just an outright, is the wigs.
Mm. I'm
What
so glad
is
we talked about
happening
the wig.
with the wigs? Why is everybody, almost everyone, maybe not all everybody, but almost everyone wearing a wig in this? Why? And I looked up the actor because I didn't want to mention this in case there was a reason why the female main character was wearing a really bad wig. There's not. There's not. Her hair looks pretty much the same without the wig.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's another plot twist. What if they're not wigs? What if they're just fucking terribly styled?
I can't imagine her hairline is that far down her forehead.
Yeah, no,
I
I get
can't
that.
imagine.
I mean,
Maybe it could be, but I don't know.
I don't think there's a win here. Like, I want to be like, oh, maybe they're not wearing wigs. It's like, well, that's bad. If it looks like they're wearing wigs, well, what if they are wearing wigs? Yeah, well, the wigs are fucking terrible. There's a
Yeah.
scene where I specifically screenshotted it and sent it to Amy, where Chad Michael Murray and her are dancing or whatever, and he has this flick of hair that looks crusty and is just leaning down like, over the front of his face. And Amy pointed out that you never see it again in the film.
Never. And it looks like you could snap it off. So maybe he did.
Yeah, yeah, it's awful. It's awful. It looks like it's been freeze dried by like
It
hair,
really
hair,
does.
and it's just yeah, or yeah, horrific. Yeah, there is nothing good about this film except from the Netflix extended Christmas universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even that funny.
I was going to say that there's a lot of reasons why you can forgive a Christmas film. Is it wholesome and heartwarming? No. Is it funny? No. Does it have like a fun plot? No. This was boring and insulting and just not a good time. And we always talk about would you recommend this book to a friend? But I'm going to ask you the question. Would you watch this again? Like, would you make this part of your Christmas traditions? No.
Absolutely not. Like we've got some weird Christmas traditions in a sense that we'll watch terrible films because that's the,
Hmm.
but not that terrible.
No.
It was
No.
atrocious, and I will feel better if Netflix just gets rid of it from their roster all.
Exactly. Don't put that back on again next year, Netflix,
No,
if you're
no.
listening.
If anything, yeah, big listeners. Um, but if anything, I want them to take it off now so that as little people as possible can watch this
Mm,
film.
hmm mm. Because I think it's getting a bit hype. I think people are starting to talk about it in social media and saying like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be sexy." It's not sexy. It's not. It's just rubbish.
It's That's the thing, and I think I wouldn't if they were all sort of unknown actors, and you've got the man who works as hard as he does as the barman in terms of the dancing. I think that that would be a redeemable thing. But Chad Michael Murray, it's like he gives up acting halfway through. His acting's pretty good until roughly about maybe the
That is so
climb,
true.
and then he also can't dance.
He can't dance at all, and you're totally right about his acting. He is in it, I think, for like the first maybe like half an hour of the film, and then after that, it's as if he just gets bored. Like he's had his check, and he's like, "I'm done. I don't have any interest in this."
If he knows how fucking terrible this film is.
Did you see the bloopers?
Oh, were the bloopers even funny? No.
All the actors looked annoyed at each other. You know, when someone does something silly, usually in a blooper, and the other person acting alongside them will like laugh and like, oh, it didn't, it was quite sinister, even the bloopers. They were so quiet. It's like they would do something and it was just nothing, no reaction from anyone.
So tense. But
It was tense, tense on set of The Merry Gentleman.
yeah, normally I can muster up any kind of joy for some sort of Christmas theme or message or film. Nothing for this.
No, nothing.
On to the next.
Let's do it.
On to our second film,
Hmm.
Hot Frosty. Amy,
Hot Frosty.
how would we describe it? It's almost like Jack Frost meets sort of a sexy male lead.
Yeah, it's like if you ever wanted Jack Frost to not come back and be the kid's dad and instead maybe get with like the mum, maybe it's that.
Yeah. If you were the mum in Jack Frost, this is that film,
This
essentially.
is that film. And I absolutely hate the film Jack Frost because it terrifies me. I don't like the CGI. Is that even what you would say? It really unsettles me.
I love Jack Frost. So
Oh
this
no.
is a sorry, so the only reason you don't like it is because of the way that Michael Keaton looks as a snowman.
Yes, I can get on board with the storyline. I have seen it numerous times. It's
Mm.
very wholesome and heartwarming, and it is quite like it does get you a little bit. It gets you choked up, but I really struggle to look at him. It's really unsettling.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, well, let's pause Jack Frost and let's talk about Hot Frosty.
Mm.
Um, so essentially we've got Gretchen Wiener, um, aka Kathy, which I
Uh-huh.
wrote down. I wrote down that is possibly the unsexiest name.
I think that was the point, right? That she was like just a bit, she'd lost herself. She was just a
Yeah.
bit anonymous.
But the sadness she goes through is basically telling us that women named Kathy don't deserve joy,
Not in
essentially.
this story, because
Um,
she goes through a lot.
she does, and how fast do we get into it? So the premise is that she essentially puts what is known as what is known what it's clearly a magic scarf, puts a magic scarf around a sexy snowman as she's walking through the town and looking at the town snowman competition. And there's a sort of a sexy snowman there, only a half snowman, just to be clear, because he's sort of the bottom of
Hmm.
him doesn't have legs. And he's got abs, and he's like, oh hey, and she puts the thing on him. Despite the fact that she is freezing in her house, her friend at the charity shop or vintage shop that they run has given her
Yeah.
a scarf, sort of to help her start anew, but also because her house is freezing. She has no central heating. She decides to give that scarf to a snowman. She goes away, and then he becomes a real boy. It's very
Yeah.
Pinocchio Jack Frost. Um,
Pinocchio Jack Frost. Rudy pointed out also out that how insulted would you be if you were that lady coming out and you were like, oh, there's that nice scarf I gave her. And she just left it with the snowman.
props,
Um,
Props to Ruru for that. Yeah, no, no, I can
Yeah,
see that.
like okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the snowman, the scarf thing was interesting because I think there was mention that she had recognized it was magical because she wore it the night she met her
Ah,
partner. Maybe not
see,
magical, maybe just like good luck. I don't know.
not the same scarf. She says the night I went to the bar or whatever, I was wearing a red scarf, and then she
My
goes,
God.
"What just came in?" or "Look what's just come in." So
Oh
they're clearly
no.
two different scarves.
Why do that? Why not just say this gave me a lot. I've had the scarf when I experienced like a really joyful time, and I just want you to have a bit of that joy. Here is this scarf that is sentimental and means something significant to me, not just any old random red scarf that you've got lying around.
Which would probably, to speak about Ruth's point a bit more, she probably wouldn't give that to a random snowman. So if anything, the whole plot of the movie would be moot. That makes him come to life. He's very innocent. He's a snowman, and then they fall in love, and obviously, but I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
A major problem with that. So I wrote down the snowman lore that we get throughout this film. So he's unaware that he's naked, sort of thing, because
At
he's
the
very
beginning, yeah.
he has the scarf and he's walking through town and it's quite funny. There's a couple walking their dog and the man is crap like, oh, and the woman's like, oh, we better get a quicker look. It's quite funny. So he's unaware that he's naked, but he knows what clothes are.
This totally threw me off. Yeah, I think they tried to get around it by saying that anything that you can see on television, he has the ability to learn.
But he goes and gets those clothes before he's seen any sort of television or anything.
Exactly. But there's a few times where he does the same, where he seems to have more of an understanding of things, like a
Yeah.
school, etc. But he doesn't know what that is and hasn't seen it on TV.
So he doesn't know what cancer is,
No,
and he doesn't know what radar is,
no.
but he has an extended vocabulary and doesn't understand the words lay low. But he also knows what hugs are.
Those what hugs are. Yeah.
So yeah, there's no clarification throughout. So he is, but also I have a real problem of the over sexualization of him because he's got the mind of a child. If
But
we're to
does
be,
he? I mean, you're right, he does, but they don't really go either way with it, so it just becomes quite confusing. They could have just went the full way and made it clear that he does have his, he has got the mind of an adult, that he does have all these past experiences to draw on, or he doesn't. He's very innocent, a bit like Will Ferrell's character in Elf, maybe.
hmm,
Um, and then you'd be a bit like, okay, I get that more, but there was a weird in-between grey area with this that they decided to go, and it just didn't really make sense either way.
no, it was weird. There was definitely certain points where I felt this was I felt weird watching it, being like, this is strange. Why?
Mm.
Why is this going to be? They're ultimately going to fall in love, like, and
Hmm.
yeah, no, no, weird. Also, nipples on a snowman is a weird thing to see.
I was just thinking that. Who made that snowman? Who made the sexy man snowman?
This
That's
is it.
weird. And why didn't they recognize it and go, oh, that looks a bit like the snowman that I made? Because I know they recognize the snowman has disappeared, but why
Yep,
does the person who made it not come forward?
that's it. You never find out. Maybe it's Chriselle.
Maybe maybe she does that and leaves. Perhaps.
Um, for those of you that are aware of Selling Sunset, I only didn't realize it was her while I was looking at the cast before we started recording. Yeah, Chriselle from Selling Sunset has a small cameo. I had to get Amy to tell me who she was in the things. I did not remember her, but
Yeah,
yeah, no,
very short in the cafe, at the very first cafe scene. We go to Kathy's cafe because she owns a cafe. Ha ha ha. Yeah, she's there. She shows up there because Kathy seems to be like some kind of like front of house maitre d' like greeter. She doesn't really seem to do much of the actual waiting or cooking. She just stands at the front and welcomes people in with a badge on. I
yeah, no.
noticed.
I mean, yeah, no, I know. So I said the main trauma in Kathy's life is pre-film. Her husband has died from cancer. Um, Clearly quite young, very sad. And Jack, our snowman, because that is the name on his overalls that he steals. Um, he essentially pinpoints that what Kathy does, oh, he cooks and that sort of thing, because he's been watching the cooking channel while she's left him in her house. Oh, you cook, that's what you do. And she's like, yeah, used to, but don't anymore. And I'm like, you've got so much time to cook. Why wouldn't you be cooking?
I know.
It's it's such a we don't get any sort of flashbacks about this guy who that she was married to. We don't get any.
No, I
We
think
get
that would have been quite effective. And I thought we were going to get that. I thought when he discovers the medical notes that are written with the same font, I think, from like the old iPads or in the old iPods, the Notes
hey,
app.
as long as it's not Comic Sans. That's
It very nearly was, but no, it's definitely. So someone's just put that on their notes and screenshotted it. Um, yeah, bizarre. But yeah, at that point, I thought, okay, we're going to get a flashback, or maybe a couple of flashbacks. Will Shinbi explains to Jack a bit about her husband and what happened. No, 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 we don't even see him apart from a weird AI rendered wedding photo.
oh my God, the wedding photo. So bad, so bad. Um, Such badly done AI wedding photos is what I've put on the thing. Oh, and also when she says, "Oh, I used to do that. I used to do this sweet potato casserole thing." That sounds fucking minging.
Yeah, I like sweet potato, but I know that as part of like Thanksgiving foods that Americans like to have, they have sweet potato and they put mini marshmallows in it.
Yep. No, fuck off. What you do?
No. But a sweet potato I'm all for, but don't make it any sweeter. It's sweet enough.
I like sweet potato, but of all the things that you could have a specialty dish for,
I know. I know. Is it meant to be like a diner? Is it meant to be like a kind of more traditional cafe? I couldn't really get my head around what we were going for.
but once again, it's the pillar of the community.
Like, of course, everyone gathers there, but she doesn't have either she doesn't have the money or she doesn't have the inclination to do the repairs in the house. I wasn't quite sure where we went with that.
That's it. We never get any sort of depth to Kathy because it's all about Jack and what Jack
Mhm.
brings to Kathy. Like he learns DIY, so he learns to fix everything. But yeah, we never get essentially the deeper meaning of she probably has the money for it, but she just doesn't think she's worth it, or she's too embroiled in her grief to.
To do anything. Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, a sexy man will help.
A sexy man will help. That's what
Yeah.
she needs. Sexy snowman.
What I will say is I thoroughly enjoyed it way more than The Merry Gentleman.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it definitely benefited from me having watched The Merry Gentleman first. I think if
Yeah,
I'd seen something that I like significantly more than Hot Frosty, I don't think it would have been like out of this world amazing. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it comparatively.
I think the two standout bits of um Hot Frosty are essentially Joe Latruglio and Craig Robinson. Those guys play the sheriff and the deputy sheriff, and they are brilliant. It's
They're funny.
very
I really liked it.
it's I mean it's farcical. It's what I wanted in terms of satirical. It's so ridiculous, and I loved it very much.
I think the trailer leads you to think that it will be more aware of its self-aware and it will be more satirical. And I think that's what those guys certainly bring to the story because they ham it up massively and it is really funny. But I don't think everyone else really gets in on it enough.
No, and I think the story's about Jack when it should be about Kathy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, of course, you sort of, there's got to be time paid to Jack because essentially he's brand new and learning and everything and come out of this magical thing. But all that happens with Kathy essentially is she leaves him at home watching telly. He learns everything that he can from watching telly. He starts nipping off and helping at the school and everything. But then we
Hmm.
never really see Kathy again until she takes him for like a montage to go and buy some clothes because he's going to be a
For the
chaperone. Has to come to
yeah.
him to the winter formal or something.
Yeah, it wasn't romantic enough. It wasn't funny enough. There were so many funny opportunities. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're right when you said about his first, when he was first spotted by that elderly couple who are out to walk, and then the old man's like, oh, and falls into the snow, and it's like, that's quite funny. But there's not enough of that. It doesn't really. he doesn't really interact with many people because he does just stay at home and watch TV and learn things.
But then at the end, so he inhabits all the traits of a snowman. You know, he can't really take the heat and everything. So he then gets found out that he was the one that stole the overalls and broke the window, even if it was an accident. But the sheriff's a bit of a hothead and you know is very much like up for re-election and stuff. So wants to sort of prove himself. Daryl from The Office, basically, and
Yeah.
it is Daryl from The Office,
Mm.
and he then yeah, so he takes it like really harsh, locks him up. It's too hot in there, apparently, and he's starting to melt. So then the town comes together to pay $2,000 bail.
Hmm.
And what I don't understand is, like you said, he helps some people in town. He helps them get the glass and put the glass back in the window. He helps the old women. There's about six old women.
Hmm.
But I feel like the film, not that I necessarily wanted it to be longer, but I feel like we were missing bits.
I agree. No, I do agree. I don't think it's necessarily about making it longer, but just making maybe some of the scenes a bit have a bit more depth to them. So we can really understand why everybody wants to rally around and help Jack. I know that he does a lot of good in the school, but
Yeah.
then as you say, he becomes this pillar of the community that everybody is willing to pay money to get out on bail. And then the whole storyline with the sheriff is hilarious because he doesn't want to let him out without the bail being the bond's made, that's fine. But then he changes his mind right at the very end, whilst he's like essentially we think now dead in the snow, and says, just take all your money back. And then it's like, how much money did I give? I was given money quickly out of stress to be like, put the money in. So what are they going to do now? Go back round with a hat and refund and take out all the money that they just donated? Very odd. Don't know what
Yeah.
that bit was all about.
Yeah, I mean, Jeopardy for Jeopardy's sake, right? Like,
Mm.
and it yeah, and then he comes out. Essentially, they put him in the snow. He's sort of half melted. Yet none of him has disappeared. And will obviously, that doesn't fit with regular snowman law. And they put him in the snow, and he's then dead,
Uh-huh.
essentially. And then she takes the scarf off of him, and she starts to walk away while the rest of the crowd is still gathered around the body. And then, as you see a flash of her, you hear Kathy, and they all
Mm.
split, and he's fine. And then you find out that he's a human.
Because she kissed, was it True Love's kiss? Was it that old
I have
chestnut?
no idea. I'm sure they'd kissed before, right? At the ball or something. So
Oh yeah, maybe. So maybe he just had to die to come back to life as a human.
I don't think, I think we're overthinking it.
I think you're totally right. I think they got to a point where they were like, right, we want them to be in a relationship. There's no way they can possibly be in a relationship if he is part snowman or full snowman. So I think we're going to have to make him human. How are we going to do that? I don't know. Let's just say the scarf again. Let's do
Yeah.
the scarf.
Yeah, so that's the thing. There's no normally in sort of these types of shows, you at least get a hint of magic. That yes, there's magic in this film because he comes to life, but like you get a hint of what's happening with the magic. Like let's describe his Princess Switch. That old guy is Santa.
They could have done something very similar to that with this. They could have had a whimsical character that was shown up quite a bit, and then at the end, even just like a little wink to camera moment where we know what happens, but they don't know what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, would it have been cringy? Yes, but that's the point. But to have nothing at all just makes it confusing and sort of unexplained. Lazy. It's lazy
Hmm.
writing.
Hmm.
The only reason he ultimately needs to be human is so they can go to Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the plan, isn't it? Because he somehow has lots of money and can like, well, she gets him tickets to Hawaii, which is lovely. He buys her a DIY book as a gift, right? And then on Christmas Day, when she receives the DIY book, she instantly goes upstairs and fixes, or downstairs, whatever, and fixes the heating system.
Yep.
And then comes back and gives him his gift.
Yep.
Just wait until after presents have been given.
What would you have done, or what would they have done if it took her days, weeks to
Well, she
fix
just
that?
couldn't do it. Well, she was like, nah, I'm not fixing the heating system. Like, I'm feeling really, you have, I love you now. I'm feeling really positive. I'm going to go and call a heating engineer.
Yeah, yeah. Or, would you like to take a look at it, considering you know everything about DIY now? But, yeah, and I get like just done something for ourselves, that's great. But what I think really would have given the film more depth and made it more poignant is if they'd made it more Kathy focused, and her sort of learning to love and learning to love herself again, knowing that there is a second chance, is if Jack did die or melted away or whatever, and she got to walk away having had that love again
Hmm.
and knowing that it comes from sort of within and it's not finite.
Hmm.
And every year she comes and he's built or whatever at the Christmas snowman festival or whatever. And she always puts a scarf on or whatever. But then we see her put a scarf on, and she says "Merry Christmas, Jack," and then she walks away with like a nameless, shapeless man, and they go whatever. I think that would have been
More
a more
effective.
a more beautiful film.
I
But I
agree. I agree.
I I get that that is not the point of this film.
I mean, I think it could be the point of this film, though, because again, a bit like The Merry Gentleman, they try to do lots of different things. So they try and be wholesome and heartwarming, but they never fully commit to that because they don't show us any of the depth of the her and the husband's relationship. So we don't have any insight into how painful that must have been for her to lose
Yeah.
him. They try and make it funny, but then they never really lean into how funny it could be because they try and keep it quite PG and it doesn't really
Well, I think
translate very well.
we see a photo of the two of them at the very beginning of the film, and then you're left to draw your own conclusions until Jack finds out and asks what cancer is. I don't think it's ever explicitly stated whether they divorced, he left her, cheated on, whatever, or died. There's no.
No.
If I didn't already think I'd seen the summary of it being like a young widow or something, I would
Yeah.
have had no idea. And so you lose that sadness for her all the way through because you don't
Yep.
see notice any of the little things of the fact that she's not looking after herself. Yeah,
I
so
think a nice, I mean, you don't need to stuff it down people's throats or anything, but I think a nice moment between her and Jack to talk about the fact that she has lost herself in that grief and that she hasn't been looking after herself or her house. And, she's struggling with that would have been more of like, would have worked more, I think. There should have been more, especially the moment when he found the medical notes and she just kind of very briefly explains what cancer is to him. And then that's kind of it. There's nothing really more mentioned then.
yeah. And also she raises a valid point. She's like, "You went through my stuff. Like, he goes downstairs. I thought he was gonna go downstairs because behind him's like all the Christmas things, and I thought he was gonna decorate for Christmas or whatever. No, no, he rifles through a box of papers and things and is like, "Oh, what's all this?" It's like this childlike naivety that they
Mm.
use for plot points, but they don't use when it becomes romantic.
Exactly. Yeah, you're totally right. They use it when it works for them, and we've said before that is very cheap. We've seen it before. We know it's convenient to use it in certain points, and then inconvenient to use at other points, so that it just gets completely disregarded when it doesn't work. It's a Christmas film. I don't think any of us were really looking for anything too deep here, but there are simple things I think they could have done to make it even better or better because I didn't love it.
No, I I enjoy, yeah, and I think you already mentioned this, and it's definitely a valid point. Is watching it after The Merry Gentleman, anything looks class. Like
Exactly. Would you add this to your seasonal Christmas roster or not?
I was just about to ask you the same thing. Um,
Mm,
I don't think so.
no,
I
I don't think so either.
I think these days a Christmas film really has to be something special for it to like I'll happily watch them when they come out new and sort of be like, oh, what's this, Or maybe every few years, like, oh, that was quite good. I remember that being pretty good, like on the background or whatever. But no,
No.
I don't think it's a Christmas classic. Yourself?
No, I can't see myself next year going out of my way to watch it. Again, if I'm wrapping presents and maybe in a few years' time I just want to pop something kind of mindless on in the background, I might opt for it because I haven't seen it in a while and I forget what it was about. But I also don't know if Netflix will bring it back next year, to be honest. I don't know if all these films are going to constantly come back.
Who knows? And look, I wouldn't be broken if I never saw it again.
No, nor would I.
So yeah. Um, I mean, I think we In terms of talking about two of them, these are two brand new releases from Netflix, well within, well, Hot Frosty came out a couple of weeks into November and Merry Gentlemen came out about 5 days ago. So to be within 2 weeks of release of each other and to be very male gazy, well, I suppose
Hmm.
female gaze, at looking at men in very sexualized ways. Um, it's a strange one for a Christmas film because, first of all, you would never get it the other way around.
No.
Generally, you would never get, or at least I can't recall any kind of film where it's about, I don't know, a beauty contest or women are in bikinis or sexy, I don't know, whatever. I
No,
can't
none that I've seen.
even in its very worst forms of Hallmark Christmas films, there's never any kind of like the sexualization of people and Christmas doesn't tend to go.
You
So
usually get a chaste little kiss at the end of a Hallmark film.
it,
It's very unlikely you're going to get more than that. And sex scenes, are, I don't think I've ever seen one or even had one alluded to watching one of those films.
yeah, it's always it's funny you said chase kiss. It's always closed mouth as well. It's always like
Hmm. Yeah, it's just a little peck at the very end under the mistletoe or by the Christmas tree.
yeah. And so I think it's an interesting one. I wonder whether that is in an attempt to create almost popular
I think
Christmas
so.
film, or something a bit
Yeah.
different. Or to take it back to the fact that we are a book podcast and we forget about it well, we forget about the fact we're a book podcast every other week during a particular kind of season. Um, do you think TikTok, book talk, and the idea of like dark romance, fantasy romance, the sexy sex could that
Yes.
have influenced
I think you're
you?
absolutely right. I think whoever it was scouting for ideas, coming up with what this could be, because I very much imagine that as a team of Hallmark Christmas film writers that sit together around a table and come up with an idea first and then write the script afterwards. And I think they have been absolutely totally right. They've been scouring the internet, they've come across Book Talk, they know what's popular right now. The only thing is they didn't fully commit to it. So it's going to disappoint people in both camps, I think, because if you're coming into it looking for wholesome family fun, you're maybe not getting that because there is a bit of sexualized content within there that's a bit weird. And then if you are looking for something that is really leaning into that like fantasy romance, spicy book talk, book talk enters the chat, all that kind of thing, you're not getting enough of it from this. So it's not appealing
No,
to either, I don't
I
think.
mean, I'd say from either as well, like from like, you getting potentially a bit more of the sexualization with Merry Gentlemen, but you're not getting any fucking plot. There's no point to that film.
No.
Um, so I think they almost counteract each other in
Mm.
ways. One is the sexualization is weird in Hot Frosty because
Hmm.
it's trying to be wholesome, whereas the Merry Gentleman, the sexualization is weird because it's just that's all there is.
Mm.
So
It just doesn't
it,
really work, I don't think, because we just don't get enough depth from any of the characters to care. Like if we wanted to see pictures of Chad Michael Murray with his top off, you can Google that. You don't need to watch this really rubbish film.
yeah,
So it doesn't bring anything else to the table aside from the fact that it's like he's going to get his top off at some point. All right, okay.
yeah. There is an awful lot of like, I wonder how much. I'm sorry to take it back to Twilight. Um, nobody was expecting it. Um, the bit in Eclipse where she drops off Edward or whatever they're doing a changeover of Bella, and Edward says, "Doesn't he own a shirt?" And that's one of my favorite lines. But it's right. Like Chad Michael Murray's what he's doing the bar without his shirt on. There's got to be some contractual thing of like the only reason Dustin Milligan has his shirt off in Hot Frosty is because he's a snowman and therefore he's used to the cold. But I know that that's purposely written so that we see an awful lot of Dustin without his shirt on.
Hmm. But at least there is a reason for it. It's not a very good reason. It's quite flimsy, but there's something. In the Merry Gentleman, he's just fixing, I think at one point, is he fixing like a beer pump or something? He's doing some kind of work behind the bar, just without a top on.
And I think he tries to say, "Oh, it's because my top got wet," but then he puts his top on to then go underneath. So like, That's
You
it.
can work with a wet top, Chad Michael Murray. Like you don't need to strip off all your clothes if you get a bit of a splash on it. Like I'm not doing the dishes at night and just like get my kit off. Like calm down. It's a
Sadly
bit
enough,
damp. Just go, just leave it. It's fine. I can put up with that for a couple hours.
sadly enough for your neighbours at the back of you, I bet they'd have loved
Exactly.
that.
They would love
Um,
it.
but I think I think the main thing I take away from both films is, and maybe it's the cynic in me, and I think you and I have figured out that we're fairly cynical human beings,
Hmm.
and we don't normally enjoy, or we think too much about the things that should just be very, oh, it's just a film, so whatever. If anything, I found it quite insulting to a
Hmm.
lot of people, not just us, but like a lot of people, that you could consider this a film, either one of them.
Yeah.
Like Hot Frosty definitely has more of a cohesive plot, at the very least of it. It has more of a beginning, middle, and end. Merry Gentleman is over within half an hour, and if I have to shit on the Merry Gentleman, of course I will again. I'm sure no one will mind, but it's just insulting that that is what passes for media these days. And if that
Yeah.
was what I was paying for my Netflix subscription for, I would be cancelling straight away.
Totally, I agree. And I think that's, you've totally nailed it because I think most of the time Hallmark films were, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows this, but I think they might have came on like ABC Family and things in America, and I'm pretty sure they come on like Channel 5 in the UK. They don't come on Netflix that you're paying as much as you pay a month for. Like, I think you need to step your game up a bit, Netflix, and not just buy really cheap Christmas films to pretend you've got Christmas content because
Yeah,
nothing that you've contributed to the Christmas viewings recently has been worth your subscription fee at all.
absolutely not. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, of course, like you said, they're listening, so hopefully they'll take that on board.
I hope so. Next year, do better. We're waiting to see it.
Should we uplift ourselves a little bit by talking about
Hmm.
our favorite, perhaps newer Christmas films that really hit the mark for classics that are entered into our Christmas traditions in terms of that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, I will begin because I'm being very selfish. I'm selfishly taking this spot. The best Christmas film that has been brought out by a streaming service is Klaus.
Yeah, love it. It's a good one.
That
Hmm.
is a film that Alex and I will always watch every year. It's an animated, if anyone's listening and they don't know what I'm talking about, it's an animated film about a postman's, well, he's the postmaster's son, and he's spoiled and privileged, and he gets sent to the very far reaches of this land to set up a postal service, and he needs to get 5,000 letters or something sent to and from, going to and from, um, or he's cut off. And essentially, he meets a woodcutter and convinces him to start the fable of Santa, of Father Christmas. And it's beautiful. The cast is insane. It's perfect. It nails the sentimentality of Christmas whilst
Hmm.
also being fun for adults, fun for children. It's beautifully animated, and I cry every year.
It's a great one. It's a really good one. I'm very much looking forward to the newest animation, the animated offering that Netflix are coming out with. I think it's maybe today, and it's called That Christmas, and it's
That
about a
Christmas.
small town in England, I think, and they experience like a freak snowstorm, and then people get stuck in all sorts of calamitous situations leading up to the big day. And it does look really good, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yes, that is a great shout, and who knows, maybe it will make an appearance on this podcast. Yeah, that's a great cast as well. Again, that's the
Hmm.
thing. They've not cheaped out on
Nope.
the sort of the cast, and I think sometimes that is a real draw for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't have watched Hot Frosty if it wasn't for Dustin Milligan, Milligan, whatever, because I love him in Schitt's Creek. I think I'd have let that fly by the wayside if I.
Yeah, there's a whole host of Hallmark films and those kind of cheesy Christmas films that I'm not going to watch. I'm not the kind of person that's just going to watch all of them because I love them all. Like, there's a few that
No,
I've watched that I enjoy, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to watch them no matter what. And you're right, that was the only reason I watched it too.
yeah. Um, what is? Do you have any films that you love that have come out maybe a bit recently and that you guys always watch? Or
Not anything, I mean, I would say that Klaus is definitely one of those ones that's like it's a step above your kind of standard cheesy Christmas offering. But I just always watch The Christmas Prince, Princess Switch,
they're great.
Christmas Inheritance, and I know that one is absolute dog
Ah,
rough, but I
yeah.
like it. And I don't know why I
So
like it, but I do.
Christmas Prince definitely, and Princess Switch, they are definitely Netflix's answer to a extended Christmas universe. They are
And we're fine with that. We're good with
they're
that.
great. They're great films. They balance perfectly the sort of the sentimentality of Christmas, the sort of the magic of like I don't know, hidden identities, and then
hmm
sort of royalty, like a small town Genovia but in the snow. And they have this perfect way of not taking themselves too seriously, and
No,
it
but trying. Ultimately, that's the thing. You don't have to take yourself too seriously, but you totally nailed it earlier by saying you don't want to insult your audience. You do want to have a bit of effort, and it does need to be as if you have tried with the acting, with the casting, you know, with the plot and the script. It would be nice to see some effort. And I think that's maybe where certain films let themselves down. They get a bit cynical themselves and think, I can do this. This is easy. But it's not easy to make a cheesy film.
no, because I think we should expect more these days because there's such a way that it can be written, such a rule book of what can be written that sometimes to subvert that is dangerous, or sometimes to not lean into it is dangerous. But as far as I'm concerned, The Merry Gentleman, I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of thing came out being like AI wrote that script.
I would totally agree with you. And yeah, I feel like some of it was very strange. There are scenes where if you watch what other characters in the background are doing, it's as if they don't realize they're acting.
Because
Because
they're
Aunt
not.
Zelda's in it from Sabrina, and you watch the scene where she's walking away. I think she thinks that maybe the camera's not panning on her at that point. They're not. She's in the background walking off, and the two main characters are in the foreground. But she just like scratches the side of her face and like fixes her hair and does like this. But it doesn't look like it's part of the character. It looks like she's walking off set to like, you know, as herself. It's very strange. There's a lot of moments that could have been obviously been missed during editing, and people have just not given a single shit and just kept it in the final cut.
Um, let's finish on a big high. What is your all-time favorite Christmas film?
Oh, it's so difficult. It changes all the time. There's so many that are up there for me. I mean, I love Elf. I love Muppets Christmas Carol. But I also love Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds and Anna Faris.
I forget that it's Christmas. I forget that it's a Christmas
hmm
film.
And I love Four Christmases with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn. So there are, I wouldn't say they're like the ultimate, but they have got like special sentimentality and we do watch them every year. So yeah, I
Mhm.
couldn't pick one. Do you have an ultimate standout favorite? What is it?
You've already mentioned it. It's Muppets Christmas Carol.
Fair. That's Rudy's, so that's fair.
It it's everything. It is the what did I see? I saw a tweet that was it is the most faithful adaptation to A Christmas Carol. It uses the most Dickensian language pulled straight from the book more than any other adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Not to mention it's just perfect. I love that. It's so good. The fact that it is just everything. It's the first Christmas film we watch. I mean, and then it's always generally the last one we watch because we watch it on Christmas Eve.
I was
It's
going to say, I think whatever you watch on Christmas Eve tends to be the one that is like your favorite.
yeah, yeah. But like you, I also have like a few good runners up. I love The Grinch.
I
Um,
like the Grinch, yeah.
I we always wrap presents while we watch The Grinch.
I'm going to
We
say I
always
always wrap presents for the Grinch, weirdly enough. I always do like Christmas tasks or put the tree up. Sometimes I put the tree up with the Grinch on. That's
nice.
one of the things we do.
We always watch. We also always wrap presents with The Holiday because it's a fucking long film.
That's a long film. I like The Holiday, but that is a long film. And I always tend to watch that quite early in December.
Interesting,
I
interesting.
don't know why.
It's just, yeah, I love Christmas films. I think it's like Christmas songs, right? Nowadays, they're just not going to have the same, I don't know. And I don't know why that is. And I think it
I
takes
think
a
it's the
lot.
nostalgia, isn't it? Like you've got that sense of when did you listen to that Christmas song, or when you were a kid opening presents, or getting excited for Christmas, or going to your school nativity and it's playing in the car radio. Like it's all those little moments that are so special. And you don't have that now because when do you listen to new Christmas music? Like Sabrina Carpenter's Christmas song or Ariana's Christmas song. Like I'll listen to them. I wouldn't think of them as like I want to listen to Christmas music. I'm going to put that on.
I didn't even know Sabrina Carpenter had a Christmas song. I
Mm.
think the most modern Christmas song I think I like is Kelly Clarkson's.
Oh, but her voice is just gorgeous.
I think that's probably the most modern or contemporary song that I can think of that I have on my sort of playlist for Christmas.
Have you heard your first Christmas song out in public already? What was it?
Unfortunately, um, oh, it was I cannot tell you. I'm trying to block it out
Uh,
because it's obviously when we go to Asda, it's already in there. It's been in there for like 2 weeks, so I'm trying not to listen. Generally, the first Christmas song I will listen to, and this is gonna anyone
I
listening to
know
this,
what it is. Do I know what it is?
oh, I don't know, do you?
Is it Mariah Carey?
It is not Mariah Carey.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say it's a weird one because my autism is showing. It is essentially the first song on one album, a compilation album that my mum and dad had and have listened to
Okay.
for years. Um, and it is John and Yoko's War is Over.
Oh,
Happy
I
Christmas.
know. Do you know what? I actually know what album you're talking about because I think I had it. Was it a double album?
I think, yeah, double or a triple, but like it's the best Christmas album in the world ever.
Yes!
And it's red,
Yes! And it's
Santa's on
red
the
and
front.
silver. Yes. And Britney's in there and like all the kind of lesser known offerings are in there.
Britney's not on our version. I mean, maybe there's been a few versions of it, but yeah, no, this
Ah.
is old. Like this is, I could almost do the track listing. I won't because that's people will be shutting off. But like it's things like Little Saint
I
Nick's
know.
in there by the Beach Boys.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Gaude
Definitely.
Hay is in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
Pretty Paper, Roy Orbison. So I created the playlist based on the exact track
Ah.
listing of this CD. My mum and dad think I'm mad, but that's what I listen to when we put the tree up.
I would do that in a minute. I loved that album so much.
I'll share the playlist with you.
Please do, because if it is there, I'm actually looking to see if I can find it. I'm looking to see if I can find the image of it. But yeah.
Oh, well, I feel better about having watched those shit films.
We've ended on a high.
We have. Yeah, I don't think there's any need to go into any sort of final thoughts. We neither would of us. I think if I had to recommend one, I would recommend Hot Frosty, but I would say don't expect much. Don't look into it too much. It's a bit of fun, but I would never ever recommend Merry Gentlemen.
No, fair enough. I'd recommend Hot Frost if you ran out of everything else to watch and you just want to watch something else that you've never seen before, why not give it a go? But I wouldn't expect much from it.
I'm sure it's better than some others, for sure. But I wouldn't. But there are better films to watch.
Hmm.
But yeah, no,
Okay.
next week we are continuing Christmas content. We are bringing you Amy's favorite books in the world. We will be reading um, Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore, the third in the Dream Harbor series. Um, let's see. Let's see. I won't say anything. I won't say anything because they would just spoil it, guys. You've got to tune in, or else what would be the point? But yeah, we will see you next week. Have we thought of a better ending, Amy? I don't think so. I like it.
You go for it. It's your turn to do it. I think you should end us on a high.
Um, Page Turners Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and podcast page turners at gmail.com if you want to email us and say Merry Christmas. But until then, happy reading and be good.
Bye.